San Diego, Global Knowledge University.
Welcome to this session, where we'll look at how the 24-hour society affects how organizations are managed in a global world. In this part, we'll talk about the big picture, day-to-day, and people-related issues that come from working all the time. We'll show how companies need to change to meet new demands for getting things done, responding quickly, and staying competitive. We'll also look at important things like managing time and teamwork, how motivation and leadership play a role, and how important company culture is in a global setting. This discussion will help us understand that changing to a continuous operation model isn't just a technical fix, but a big change that affects the structure, processes, and, most importantly, the people within the organization. Welcome to this session where we'll look at how our 24/7 society affects how organizations are run in a global world. In this part, we'll talk about the big picture, how things work day to day, and the human side of always being on. We'll see how companies need to change to keep up with new demands, for getting things done, responding quickly, and staying competitive. We'll also look at important things like managing time, getting teams to work together, the role of staying motivated and good leadership, and how company culture matters in a global setting. This discussion will help us understand that changing to a continuous operation model isn't just a technical tweak, it's a deep shift that changes how a company is built, how it does things, and most importantly, how it affects the people in it. Welcome to this session, where we'll look at how the 24-hour society affects how organizations are run in a global world. In this part, we'll talk about the big picture, everyday tasks, and human side of always being open for business. We'll show how companies need to change to keep up with new demands for getting things done, responding quickly and staying competitive. We'll also look at important things like managing time and getting teams to work together, the role of encouragement and leadership, and how important company culture is in a global setting. This look will help us understand that changing to a 24/7 way of working isn't just about technical tweaks. It's a big change that affects how a company is set up, how it does things, and most importantly, the people who work there. The process of globalization has pushed us towards a way of working that's always on and super fast. We call this the 24-hour society. This didn't happen because someone planned it. Instead, it grew out of changes in money, technology, and competition all over the world. Companies, countries, and groups have to keep up with this fast pace if they want to stay strong in markets that are more connected than ever. One of the biggest challenges in this change is how different countries and cultures have different speeds of life. Some economies move very fast, while others are slower. This can make it hard for them to join the global market. This difference affects important things like how fast people respond, how orders are handled, how people communicate, and how groups work together when they are in different parts of the world. So, getting everyone on the same timeline becomes really important for doing well in business. The shift to a 24-hour economy also affects different industries. At first, it mainly impacted businesses that deal directly with customers, like retail, but over time, it spread to other areas such as financial services, telecommunications, media, education, and public services. This shows that people increasingly want constant access to goods and services, which makes organizations rethink how they operate. From an organizational point of view, this change means making sure our internal processes match what international markets expect. Companies that are part of global supply chains need to keep up with their customers, who are in different time zones and have different demands. This means not just changing how we work, but also changing our company culture and how we manage our people. The impact of the 24-hour society isn't just about work, it also affects us as people. Working longer hours and having our time broken up can lead to emotional and social issues, like spending less time with family or feeling lonely. But there can also be good things, like more flexible work schedules that let some people fit work around their personal lives. So, the trick is to find a balance between getting things done and making sure people are happy and healthy. Bringing in digital tech has really changed things. Communication tools and online platforms have made it easier to connect with people all over the world, no matter where they are. But even with all this digital stuff, face-to-face meetings are still super important. Personal connections are key for building trust and doing business, so we need to find a good balance between meeting online and meeting in person. Another important thing to think about is how all this constant running affects our environment. Using more energy is a direct result of things always being on, which means we need to find greener, more efficient ways to power everything. At the same time, things running all the time can help spread out how much energy we use, stopping big surges and making the most of our resources. From an economic and social point of view, the 24-hour society brings up questions about how benefits are shared. While globalization can create chances for growth, there's also a risk of making inequalities worse, especially where workers are used in poor conditions to meet worldwide demands. This issue needs attention from both businesses and government policies. From a strategic point of view, getting used to this model is a must. Companies need to learn how to work in a continuous way, using technology to help them. But this change shouldn't just be about working longer hours. It should also include coming up with new ways to do things, making the most of what you have, and managing time well. Overall, making a continuous operation model solid is one of the biggest changes in the global scene. To handle it well, you need more than just technical and smart skills. You also need to see the whole picture, thinking about how this change affects money, people, and society. The move towards a global economy that runs all the time has really changed how organizations are managed. This 24-hour society isn't just about staying open longer. It means rethinking how companies set up their work, manage their people, and react to a very competitive world. This change affects businesses, schools, and even government offices. They all have to get used to new demands for getting things done, doing them well, and responding quickly. In the world of production, many companies have had to start working longer hours or in shifts to keep up with what people around the world want. This is super clear in places like manufacturing, where customers from all over expect products that cost less, are better quality, and get to them faster. But, with these chances come some big challenges: making more stuff, selling it for less, always updating technology, and having to manage people in tougher conditions. One of the biggest challenges here is how people in the company talk to each other. For work to get done well, people need to be able to work together at the same time. This overlap helps them talk, share ideas, fix problems, and learn together. But when people don't have much time to work together, like when they work in different places or at different times, it gets hard for the company to stay connected, come up with new ideas, and do well. This decrease in overlap becomes even more noticeable with more shifts, fewer management levels, and operations spreading out geographically. While these changes can make things run smoother, they also create problems with talking to each other and sharing what we know. For example, when lots of employees report to the same boss, it's harder to talk directly, which can make instructions less clear, feedback less helpful, and people less motivated. In this situation, communication within a company becomes super important. It's not enough to just share information. You need to build good ways for people to talk to each other all the time, share ideas, and trust each other. Companies that are really good at communicating usually do better when it comes to how involved people are, how much they learn, and how well they perform. The impact of the 24-hour society also shows up in the human side of work. How employees feel about their workplace directly affects how well they do their jobs. There's proof that things like excitement, dedication, and feeling treated fairly really make a difference in how well a company performs. So motivation isn't just a nice extra, it's a key part of the whole plan. To achieve a high level of performance, we need to move from management styles based on control to approaches focused on motivation. In old-school models, performance is pushed through pressure, constant checking, and outside rewards. This way of doing things doesn't work well when you need creativity, new ideas, and the ability to change. Instead, models based on motivation aim to create a strong inner drive, encouraging employees to take action on their own and direct their efforts toward company goals. This change means we need to use management practices that look at the whole picture. First off, it's super important to have leaders who care about what their team members are feeling. Being understanding, really listening, and showing you care become super important tools for making a great place to work. Employees who feel supported and appreciated usually work harder and do a better job. Second, it's important to set up tasks in the right way. This means having clear goals, making challenges just right, and giving feedback all the time based on how things are going. When goals are clear, employees know what to work towards, and feedback helps them see how they're doing and make changes. This way of doing things helps people work on their own and keep learning. Thirdly, innovation needs to become a top priority for the whole company. In a world full of unknowns and global competition, being able to come up with new ideas and change quickly is super important. But a lot of companies have things that stop new ideas from happening, like strict rules, not being open to new things, or not spending enough money on new ideas. Getting past these problems needs a real effort from the people in charge. Moving towards an innovative organization also means that job requirements change. Organizations need people who can adapt, keep learning, take initiative, and handle uncertainty. These skills aren't always found in today's workforce. So, companies have to create training programs and change how they manage things to encourage these behaviors. It's important to remember that how employees act isn't just about their own traits. A lot of it comes from the company's environment and the way leaders lead. If we change how we manage people, it can really make a difference in how well they do their jobs. So we shouldn't just focus on hiring new people, but also on helping the people we already have get better at what they do. Altogether, these things show that changing to a continuous operation model isn't just about how things work. It's a whole process that needs changes in how a company is set up, its culture, and how it's managed. To do well in this new way of working, companies will ultimately need to understand and manage their people as their most important asset. The rise of the 24-hour society doesn't just mean changes in how we do business and operate. It also brings big changes to our culture, how we interact, and how organizations work. This way of life makes us rethink how we manage companies. We can't just think about being fast and getting a lot done. We also need to think about our values, our culture, and how happy and healthy the people who work with us are. One of the most important things here is the role of company culture. Every country and every company has its own special cultural traits that change how people see and accept new things. You can't just set up long or continuous work schedules the same way everywhere. Cultural differences decide what employees expect, what makes them want to work, and how they act. If you don't pay attention to these differences, it can cause problems inside the company and hurt how well it does. In this regard, managing human talent needs a more flexible and personalized approach. There's no single way to motivate employees in a global world. What people need, expect, and value changes from person to person, industry to industry, and region to region. So it's super important to understand what people in the company truly care about. A key first step is to create ways for people to talk openly, so we can really listen to what employees are saying and then build motivational plans based on what they actually want and need. Globalization also brings up problems with working conditions and fairness. In some places, especially in countries that are still developing, the number of jobs and how people work can put extra pressure on workers. They might have to work longer hours or in tough conditions just to keep their jobs. This makes it hard for companies who need to find a way to be competitive while also making sure their employees are doing well. On the other hand, the 24-hour society can create job opportunities and help developing economies join the global market. Being able to work across different time zones allows different regions to be part of international production chains. They can use their local strengths to offer services or products at times that fit well with other markets. But this kind of integration needs to be managed carefully to prevent unfair labor practices and make sure working conditions are fair for everyone. The relationship between employers and employees takes on a strategic dimension in this context. When human talent is scarce, organizations tend to be more flexible and create more attractive working conditions. On the other hand, in situations where there's a lot of available labor, the pressure usually falls on the workers. This shows how important it is to build work relationships that benefit everyone, where both the organization and the employees get something valuable from the connection. Also, putting continuous services into action, like in schools or libraries, brings up some tough challenges with how things run and with money. Keeping places open longer means extra costs, like for electricity, upkeep, and staff. But it also opens doors for new ways to manage resources, making the most of what's already there and changing services to fit what users really need. The main thing is to find a good balance between how much it costs to run and how much good it does for the user. Another critical point is the idea that the 24-hour society cares more about making money than about people's well-being. While this way of working can make things more efficient and productive, it can also cause problems if not managed well. Companies need to be aware of these risks and make sure they have fair work conditions, safety, and a good quality of life for their employees. International experience shows that there are many ways to put this model into practice. In some countries, they've built really good systems where workers are very involved, but in others, the working conditions are really bad. This just goes to show that globalization doesn't always lead to the same results. It really depends on the big decisions and policies made in each place. In this environment, organizational management needs to bring together economic, social, and cultural aspects. Being competitive can't just be about cutting costs or working harder. Instead, it's about creating lasting value. This means developing management styles that look at both money results and how they affect people and society. The development of this topic shows that the 24-hour society is a big change that redefines how companies work and manage their people. To keep up in a competitive world, they need to change old ways of doing things. They have to use methods that help with talking to each other, working together, and coming up with new ideas. It's clear that people are at the heart of this change. how motivated they are, if they feel treated fairly. The company's culture and their well-being all directly affect how well things get done and the results. Also, working globally creates a push and pull between doing things well and being fair to society. This means we need balanced ways of thinking that look at both money goals and how people are affected. In this situation, companies that can bring together their plans, how they manage their people, and cultural understanding will be better ready to handle the tough challenges of a world that's always on, always changing, and very demanding.
San Diego Global Knowledge University, Education Beyond